The Zephyrian War Council had been debating for 17 cycles when the human prisoners were brought before them. Commander, Vexthol's crystalline exoskeleton clicked with nervous energy as he observed the two specimens through the containment field, a male designated Adnan and a female called Nehal. For 3 years, the Zephyrian Empire had been systematically dismantling human colonies across the Outer Rim. These soft-skinned bipeds should have been easy prey, yet somehow they kept fighting back with an inexplicable tenacity that baffled military strategists across 5-star systems. "Release them from containment," ordered High Commander Zareth, her voice resonating through the chamber's bioacoustic amplifiers. "I want to understand what makes these creatures so persistent." Adnan rubbed his wrists as the energy shackles dissolved, his dark eyes scanning the assembled alien council. Beside him, Nehal maintained her composure despite being surrounded by beings that resembled living obsidian sculptures. Both humans wore the tattered remains of their colony defense uniforms, bearing the scars of their capture 3 days prior. "You destroyed Kepler 442b, Adnan stated matter-of-factly, not bothering with pleasantries. 30,000 people. "A necessary tactical decision," Vexthol replied through his translation matrix. "Your species' expansion threatened our territorial sovereignty." Nehal laughed, a sound that made several council members recoil. "Territorial sovereignty? We were growing vegetables and studying binary star formations. The only thing we threatened was your monopoly on xenophobic paranoia." The High Commander leaned forward, her optical sensors dilating. "Your species fascinates us. When faced with superior technology and overwhelming force, most civilizations surrender or negotiate. Humans simply adapt and continue fighting. We've seen your people craft weapons from farming equipment, build spacecraft from mining apparatus, and somehow coordinate resistance networks across impossible distances. How?" "Because you made it personal," Adnan answered simply. Before anyone could respond, an alert klaxon pierced the chamber. Security Chief Morthak's exoskeleton flashed urgent crimson patterns as he entered. "High Commander, we have a situation in the biocontainment labs." The Council's attention turned to the holographic display materializing above the chamber floor. It showed the laboratory where captured specimens of Earth's flora and fauna were being studied for potential weaknesses. But something was wrong. Dr. Yillith, the expedition's chief xenobiologist, lay motionless on the laboratory floor. Around her, several other researchers writhed in obvious agony, their exoskeletons flickering between colors indicating severe distress. "What happened?" Zareth demanded. "Unknown pathogen," Morthak reported. "It appears to have originated from one of the human food specimens. The research team was analyzing something called Carolina Reaper peppers when—" "Oh no," Nehal whispered, though her eyes held a glint of dark amusement. The display zoomed in on the source of contamination, a small wrinkled red pod that had been crushed during analysis. Microscopic particles filled the air around it, and every Zephyrian who had breathed them was now experiencing what appeared to be mortal agony. "Your people are dying," Adnan observed, watching as more researchers collapsed. "That's capsaicin exposure. Probably feels like your respiratory systems are on fire." "You poisoned our scientists," Vexthol accused, his exoskeleton flashing accusatory orange. "We didn't poison anyone," Nehal replied calmly. "You tried to weaponize our food." High Commander Zareth's optical sensors fixated on the humans. "You're telling us this is food?" "Spicy food," Adnan confirmed. "We grow it in our gardens. Some humans eat those peppers whole as a challenge." The council fell silent except for the continued alerts from the laboratory. On screen, 2 more researchers had succumbed to what they could only interpret as a lethal toxin. "Impossible," Morthak stated. "Our analysis shows this compound would cause immediate systemic failure in any carbon-based life form." Nehal stood up slowly, causing several guards to raise their weapons. "May I?" she asked, gesturing toward a sealed specimen container that had been brought to the chamber for analysis. Against all protocol, Zareth nodded. Moving with deliberate care, Nehal approached the container holding several Carolina Reaper peppers. She broke the seal, removed one of the small red pods, and held it up for everyone to see. "This is why you'll never defeat humanity," she said quietly. "Because what kills you feeds us." And then, maintaining eye contact with the High Commander, Nehal bit into the pepper and began chewing. The chamber erupted in chaos. Guards raised weapons, convinced they were witnessing a suicide. Medical scanners trained on Nehal, expecting to detect immediate organ failure. Several council members backed away, expecting her to collapse like their researchers. Instead, Nehal swallowed, wiped a single tear from her eye, and smiled. "A little hot," she admitted to Adnan, who chuckled despite their circumstances. "That's nothing," he replied, reaching for another pepper. Back home, Nehal puts these in her morning eggs. As Adnan also consumed what the Zephyrians considered a lethal bioweapon, High Commander Zareth experienced something her species rarely encountered: absolute bewilderment. "How?" she whispered. "Evolution," Nehal explained, her voice slightly hoarse but steady. "Humans didn't start at the top of the food chain. We climbed there by eating everything that tried to eat us first. Capsaicin evolved to keep mammals away from these plants. We decided we liked the burning sensation and cultivated them to be even stronger." The laboratory alerts continued blaring as more researchers succumbed to pepper exposure, while 2 humans calmly consumed what amounted to chemical weapons. "Your species is insane," Vexthol stated. "Maybe," Adnan agreed, "but we're also still here." 3 hours later, as Zephyrian medical teams struggled to treat their poisoned researchers, the High Commander made an unprecedented decision. She opened a direct communication channel to the human colonial government. The war ended with the first ceasefire treaty in Zephyrian history, not because humanity had superior technology or greater numbers, but because any species that treated deadly toxins as recreational food was clearly too unpredictable to fight. As their transport ship departed Zephyrian space, Nehal looked out at the stars and smiled. "Think they'll leave us alone now?" Adnan unwrapped another Carolina Reaper from his personal stash, a parting gift from their confused captors. "At least until they discover what we do with ghost peppers." The war ended not with weapons or treaties, but with the simple truth that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to thrive where others merely survived.